Jamie Greene Kaniarz. She's the executive director for Defeat the Label. But what exactly is Defeat the Label? Jamie, great to have you with us. Can you fill us in on what Defeat the Label is all about?
Yeah, unmute our audio. There we go. Now let's ask her.
Hey, Jamie, how are you today?
Well, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, we're great. Thank you for being with us. So, Defeat the Label, fill us in. What exactly is Defeat the Label?
Defeat the Label is a nonprofit organization that focuses on anti-bullying work. We're based out of West Bloomfield, Michigan, and we work with schools and students and teachers throughout the country with a variety of different programs.
And how did Defeat the Label get started? What was the reason behind it?
So it was two gentlemen, two fathers from West Bloomfield, Jeff Sacqua and Kevin Goldman. And they were very active in the schools, both the ones that their children were in West Bloomfield, and then other ones as well. And they were taking part in a variety of different projects to help the school, whether it was fundraising or spreading awareness. And they decided that they wanted to do something more. They wanted to really tackle a bigger problem. They were very, very committed to the schools. And so they started talking. They started talking to the schools that their kids went to, and then they started talking to the school board, and then they started talking to the state school board, and it kind of just went from there. And what they heard that really surprised them was bullying. They knew bullying was a problem, but they didn't expect it to be the top one or top two things that the schools were saying. And they went and they met at the national level with different teachers unions, the NEA and the AFT, Communities in Schools, American Association of School Counselors. And they said, okay, this is what we need to do. And so originally there were some strategic partnerships with different organizations that could develop and deliver programming, because it was just the two of them. And from there, as the organization has grown, they hired staff, myself, and some amazing program coordinators and facilitators. And we were just able to eventually, as the program got bigger and bigger, it was no longer feasible to expect partners to be able to deliver the programming just on their end. So here we are.
Here you are. And I wonder, how are things been changing? Because with so much focus right now on the pandemic and the crisis and just trying to get kids remotely learning or back into the classrooms, has bullying changed to a different degree because of the way we're teaching now?
So I think one thing that people think is that, oh, we're not in school, so therefore bullying's getting better, right? That's clearly the upside of all of this. But in reality, it's actually getting worse. Light is an organization that monitors online harassment, bullying, hate speech, hate crimes. And they worked with the Pew polling firms to do a survey of student and online behavior over the last 7 months. And what they found was that there was a 70% increase in cyberbullying just in the last 6 months, which is huge. And I think a lot of people are really taken by surprise in hearing that. But it absolutely makes sense when you think about it. You have all these young people, they're all online all the time. Of course, cyberbullying is going to increase. It absolutely would.
And I think I read something once where it was just the background in, the students' homes, because now everyone can see into your home when you have to do a virtual classroom. And that can spark bullying as well, because they're seeing maybe your house isn't as nice as this house, or that you have a different situation than that house. And now you're opening up those doors into your private life that maybe weren't opened before, which is leading to the increase of a different form of bullying almost.
So that is true. So yeah, when we start talking about bias-based bullying, you start to see some of that. That's been a big topic for a lot of schools around the social emotional learning aspect of remote and video learning during this, because exactly what you said, right? People can see your homes, and so many schools are requiring the students to have their cameras turned on. And it can create a real sense of anxiety, of fear of inequality. You have students that maybe are in their home, but they share a bedroom with 3 or 4 siblings. You have, all kinds of situations going on with parents. Maybe they don't want people to hear a native language being spoken. Maybe the family participates in cultural or religious traditions, covering hair, or covering their faces, but at home they don't do that. Right now, that's being broadcast into the world. There are students who are homeless or live in shelters, and they are broadcasting from a car. So yes, that definitely does open up a whole other issue. And we do see that, unfortunately, and that was part of the survey too, when it was looking at those social emotional impacts. And so I think that, especially as we look at middle school and high school educators, they're starting to give students the option to not have their cameras on all the time, as long as they have their voice on, to kind of give them a sense of privacy.
Jamie Greene Kaniarz with us. She's the executive director of Defeat the Label, joining us this morning on the Oakland County Megacast. Jamie, with that, Defeat the Label is regularly in our local schools, aiding in anti-bullying curriculum with these schools and in these classrooms, and is heavily involved. During the pandemic, as these new issues are also arising, how is the organization continuing that education and that aid in education with these teachers and with these schools, despite not being able to physically be in those classrooms in a lot of these cases?
So I will say we stayed in classrooms until the very end. Our last day in schools was the 12th of March, when, our whole world shut down. So what we did was we made our programs available virtually, and that was a learning curve, like everybody else, right? Because we had 3 days to figure out how do we do this. Since then, we've been able to develop and work on our programming. I am really proud of what our team has done, being able to transition so much of our traditionally delivered in-school programming to a virtual platform. We're working on a series of videos. We have a really exciting elementary curriculum that we'll be deploying later this year, that teachers can implement in their own classrooms instead of having a facilitator come in. So we've been, just like everybody else, going with the flow, adjusting where we need to, trial and error, and we're doing it. We've been in contact with all of our school partners, and we are flexible. Traditionally, we do not start the Upstander programming until the end of October, beginning of November, because it allows schools time to get to know their students, get to decide who they want to do the programming for. Are they pulling students out of certain groups? Are they doing a whole grade level? So what we're telling our partners is, whatever you need, we'll do, whether that's going to be an all virtual program, whether you want us in the classroom, whether it's a hybrid, we'll make it work. And we are really fortunate and very lucky to be able to say we have this flexibility.
And do you think going forward, having to develop that virtual platform, will it allow you to reach more people than you would normally trying to go into their classrooms? And so could it be a positive for you?
It absolutely could. So we're definitely seeing that, not so much with Upstander because it hasn't started yet for this year. We've been getting inquiries about it, asking us if we have an all virtual program, which has been really exciting. I think that at this particular moment where we're seeing probably the broadest impact and the most positive impact is our upcoming community conversation on bullying, which is going to be on Thursday. Traditionally, we've held it in Waterford at the Oakland ISD. We've had really good turnout. We hosted in partnership with the MEMIC Foundation, and we get really good turnout, but it is pretty much teachers from Southeastern Michigan. This year, we're hosting it all virtually, and the turnout has been amazing. Even just to see on our website where people are coming from. We have participants coming from California. We have participants coming from Hawaii and Alaska and Canada. So I think that this is going to really open the door and to expose more people to the programming, which will in turn give us further opportunities for expanding Upstander as well.
So now you just have to look at the different time zones, right? I mean, you think about it, it's like, oh, California, what time is it there? And
Yeah, that's been not so much fun. That part, not so much. Not enjoying that part so much.
so maybe in the future you decide a 4 or 4 p.m. because it could be like what in between, you know?
I'm a little bit nervous about that. There have been a couple times when I've been like, oh yeah, we can do it 3 o'clock. And then I'm like, wait a minute. They're in California. So that means I go, okay, hold on one second. Let me just figure this out for a second.
Jamie
But
Greene.
like I said, we're flexible. If we're free and we're available, we'll do it.
Flexible is the phrase or the word of this pandemic, right?
That's the thing, right? I mean, what else do you do? We can't not offer programming. There's a need for it. And people, even with our conference, with our Stand for Change, with our Upstander, we got so many emails, and we're continuing to get so many emails from educators and administrators and mental health workers in the schools saying, you are going to continue to offer programming, right? Because we need it. We need it now, especially.
Jamie Greene Kaniarz with us, the executive director of Defeat the Label, joining us on the Oakland County MegaCast. So with that, as schools continue to be partially in person and partially virtual, and some hybrid systems, some that are entirely in person and some that are entirely virtual, how is Defeat the Label continuing that programming with schools of all of these varieties?
Whatever they need. So like I just mentioned, we traditionally don't start the Upstander program, which is our big one that's in the schools, until the end of October, beginning of November. And what we've told the schools that we work with, our partner schools and those that have inquired, whatever they need, we're willing to meet. So if they're in person and we can do so safely, we'll do the program in person. We'll offer it a hybrid version, and we'll absolutely do it virtually. So meeting the needs as they come.
And Jamie, do you have a website with tips or advice for parents, not only the ones who feel like maybe their child is being bullied, but also parents who maybe their child is the bully?
So on our website, defeatthelabel.com, we actually do have some signs that your child is being bullied or might be perpetrating the bullying behavior, which is always a hard conversation to have, and some tips and ways to address both of those.
Because when we're talking about a community conversation, I would imagine it's, like you said, it's almost easier if your child is being bullied as the victim. But if you're a parent, there could be such a wall around realizing that maybe your child is the one who is being the bully and impacting so many other people. So what can they do to try to have those conversations with their child to change their behavior? I mean, I would think it starts with recognizing that there is a problem.
Absolutely. Recognizing that there is a problem is probably the first step. I think it's a really, in all honesty, I think that in the entire situation of all the parties involved, that might be one of the roughest conversations or realizations, because I'm a parent. No parent wants to hear their child is the problem. Their child is the bully. Nobody wants to hear that. No parent is proud of that. So that's definitely something that I think a lot of times takes parents by surprise. Looking at the reasons behind bullying, why bullies bully, is a really eye-opening moment for a lot of parents. Also looking at what is bullying, and making sure that we're all speaking the same language. Because I think sometimes we hear your child's being a bully, or that child's being a bully, or little Susie is being bullied, and the behavior that's taking place isn't actually bullying. That's a big part of what we do, is making sure that we're all using the same definition. You can have unkind behavior. You can have someone not being nice or doing something that is mean or unkind, and it's not necessarily bullying. It still needs to be addressed. It still needs to be worked on, but we don't want to say something is bullied if it's not. Something is bullying if it's not actual bullying. But yeah, for parents who are in the situation where their child is perpetrating that behavior, um, we usually suggest to them that they talk to their child, first of all, figure out what's going on, what's the root cause of behavior, asking them if they realize, especially when we're talking about middle school students and upper elementary, if they realize what kind of behavior they're perpetrating, they're doing, if they know how it makes the other person feel. And then from there, depending on the situation, there are lots of different ways we can go. We recommend, in some situations, working with a mental health provider or a counselor. So a lot of the school districts have fantastic mediation teams that we can recommend to parents. So it's really a case-by-case situation.
And I would imagine, too, when you're talking about what is the difference between bullying and just being unkind, you get parents who might say, well, back in my day, that was just how it was done. And sometimes do these conversations need to be more about shifting a parent's mindset versus shifting a child's mindset?
Absolutely. And I think it goes both ways, in all honesty, based on what we've experienced. Yes, we get a lot of parents who say, well, back in my day, boys would be boys. And, if somebody was doing that, you'd punch him. And then, and then you'd leave them alone.
You have a fight. You take them out to the schoolyard. You have a fight, and then we move on.
And then it's amazing to me because even now I think I see in what is physical bullying, that actual fist fighting. A lot of times I still see that, or I'll hear it probably more than I'll see it, but they got into a fight and then they were fine. And it's just like, but they're not. So it is part of that. It's also, we get a lot of calls and conversations from parents who might feel like their child is being bullied. They'll use that word. The best example, and the one that we get frequently, especially at the beginning of the school year, in a normal school year where kids are in school, is my child is being bullied. My child is in kindergarten or first grade. And so we'll say, okay, what's going on? And they'll say, well, every day when my daughter is putting on her backpack at her cubby, the little boy next to her puts on his backpack, spins around, hits her, and runs away, like to catch his bus. And we'll say, okay, well, part of bullying is it's the purposeful and aggressive behavior. So when we're talking about really young kids, it's really hard for them to have any purposeful behavior, let alone aggressive or mean purposeful behavior. I know what the outcome of this is going to be. I know it's going to make you feel bad, and I'm choosing to do it anyway. So sometimes it's just a matter of looking at a situation through fresh eyes, I think.
Educating the parents as much as the students on such an important topic. We appreciate having you on the show so much. Thank you for your time. Again, Defeat the Label. You're doing a virtual conference October 15th, and people can sign up, correctly?
Absolutely. Please do. Visit our website, defeatthelabel.com. They can register for free. It's going to be on Zoom, and we're also live streaming it on our Facebook event page, so the more the merrier. We have some amazing speakers. I am so excited about the wonderful speakers we have this year, and there'll be opportunities to ask questions and engage. It's really going to be a fantastic program.
Well, thank you so much. We encourage all of the parents to sign up. A lot of it, like you said, it starts with a conversation, but also understanding the meaning and the language behind the wording that we are using.